What if the answer to your deepest struggles was simpler than you ever imagined? Imagine finding peace not by fixing yourself, but by embracing the very thing that feels broken. This is the story of Monk Akio, a man who once felt consumed by anxiety, his mind racing with thoughts he couldn't control, his heart weighed down by fears he couldn't escape. But through one simple practice, he discovered a way to transform his chaos into calm. If this resonates with you, take a moment to like this video. It tells me you're here and helps others find these transformative lessons too. And if you're ready to explore stories that challenge the way you see yourself and the world, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications, because sometimes the smallest shifts in perspective lead to the greatest changes in life. Now, let's begin. Akio sat cross-legged on the wooden floor of the monastery, his hands trembling as he tried to steady his breathing. His mind was a storm, a relentless swirl of worries about the future, regrets about the past, and doubts about his purpose. For years, he had trained under Master Haruto, learning the art of meditation and mindfulness. Yet, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't silence the noise in his head. Each attempt to meditate felt like trying to hold back a river with his bare hands. The more he resisted, the stronger the current became. One morning, after yet another sleepless night, Akio approached Master Haruto. "Master," he said, his voice heavy with frustration, "I cannot stop my thoughts. They are like a wildfire I cannot contain." The old monk looked at him with gentle eyes. "Akio, have you ever tried to stop the wind?" Akio frowned, confused. "Stop the wind? No, of course not. That's impossible." Master Haruto smiled. "Then why do you try to stop your thoughts? They are like the wind, always moving, always changing. The question is not how to stop them, but how to observe them without being swept away." Akio hesitated, unsure of what the monk meant. How could he simply observe his thoughts when they felt so overwhelming? Master Haruto handed him a small piece of paper with a single phrase written on it. "Do not fight the storm. Watch it. Begin here," the monk said, "and tomorrow we will speak again." Akio left the temple, holding the paper tightly in his hand. It felt like a riddle, but deep down, he sensed it might hold the key to his freedom. Akio sat cross-legged on the wooden floor of the monastery, his hands trembling as he tried to steady his breathing. His mind was a storm, a relentless swirl of worries about the future, regrets about the past, and doubts about his purpose. For years, he had trained under Master Haruto, learning the art of meditation and mindfulness. Yet, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't silence the noise in his head. Each attempt to meditate felt like trying to hold back a river with his bare hands. The more he resisted, the stronger the current became. One morning, after yet another sleepless night, Akio approached Master Haruto. "Master," he said, his voice heavy with frustration, "I cannot stop my thoughts. They are like a wildfire I cannot contain." The old monk looked at him with gentle eyes. "Akio, have you ever tried to stop the wind?" Akio frowned, confused. "Stop the wind? No, of course not. That's impossible." Master Haruto smiled. "Then why do you try to stop your thoughts? They are like the wind, always moving, always changing. The question is not how to stop them, but how to observe them without being swept away." Akio hesitated, unsure of what the monk meant. How could he simply observe his thoughts when they felt so overwhelming? Master Haruto handed him a small piece of paper with a single phrase written on it, "Do not fight the storm. Watch it. Begin here," the monk said, "and tomorrow we will speak again." Akio left the temple, holding the paper tightly in his hand. It felt like a riddle, but deep down, he sensed it might hold the key to his freedom. As he walked back to his quarters, Akio noticed the monks sweeping the courtyard. Their movements were calm, deliberate, almost meditative. He wondered if they too had once struggled with storms in their minds, or if they had always been this peaceful. The thought lingered as he prepared for bed. What did Master Haruto mean by watching the storm? And how could simply observing his thoughts bring him peace? The next morning, Akio decided to test the monk's advice. Sitting in the meditation hall, he closed his eyes and focused on his breath. When a thought arose, instead of pushing it away, He tried to imagine it as a cloud drifting across the sky. At first, it was difficult. The thoughts still felt loud, intrusive. But slowly, something shifted. He began to notice a space between himself and his thoughts, a quiet place where he could simply be. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. The next morning, Akio returned to the meditation hall, determined to follow Master Haruto's advice. He sat cross-legged on the mat, closed his eyes, and focused on his breath. At first, the thoughts came rushing in, loud, chaotic, unrelenting. But this time, instead of trying to push them away, he imagined them as clouds drifting across the sky. One thought appeared. What if I fail? Instead of gripping it tightly, Akio simply acknowledged it. Ah, there it is, he thought, watching it float by. Another thought emerged. I'm not good enough. Again, he didn't fight it. He observed it, like a leaf carried by the wind, until it faded into the distance. Minutes passed, and something remarkable happened. For the first time in years, Akio felt a sense of space, a quiet gap between himself and his thoughts. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to give him hope. When he opened his eyes, Master Haruto was sitting across from him, smiling gently. How did it go? The monk asked. Akio hesitated, then replied, It was different. I didn't stop the thoughts, but they didn't control me either. Master Haruto nodded. That is the beginning of mindfulness. You are learning to see your thoughts for what they are, not truths, but passing events. To deepen Akio's understanding, the monk shared a story. Years ago, I met a farmer who came to me seeking peace. His crops had failed, his family was struggling, and he felt consumed by despair. My mind is a storm, he said. I gave him a simple task. Every morning, he was to sit by the river and watch the water flow. Do not try to stop it, I told him. Just observe. At first he resisted. How will this help me? He asked. But over time, he began to notice something profound. The river never stopped moving, yet it was always calm beneath the surface. Your mind is like this river, I explained. The thoughts are the surface ripples, but beneath lies stillness. Learn to access that stillness, and you will find peace. Akio listened intently, imagining the river's steady flow. He realized that his anxiety was like the surface of the water, constantly shifting, but not the whole picture. Beneath it all, there was a deeper, quieter part of himself waiting to be discovered. Master Haruto stood and gestured toward the garden. Come, there is more to show you. As they walked outside, Akio noticed how the monks moved with purpose yet ease. Their actions were deliberate, but their minds seemed unburdened. Why do they seem so peaceful? Akio asked. The monks smiled. Because they have learned to let go of what they cannot control. They focus on the present moment, the task at hand, and leave the rest to unfold as it will. Akio nodded, feeling a flicker of understanding. Perhaps peace wasn't about eliminating anxiety. It was about changing his relationship with it. The next morning, Akio joined the monks in their daily chores. He swept the courtyard, carried water from the well, and tended to the garden. Each task felt mundane, but he tried to approach it with the same mindfulness Master Haruto had described. As he swept the stones, he noticed something peculiar. The dust he cleared away in the morning would return by evening, carried by the wind or stirred up by footsteps. Yet, the monks swept the same path every day without complaint. Why do you keep sweeping if the dust always comes back? Akio asked one of the monks. The monk paused, leaning on his broom. Because sweeping is not about removing the dust forever. It's about caring for the space we live in, moment by moment. Akio frowned, considering this. Was happiness like the dust? Something that needed constant attention, even if it couldn't be permanently eliminated? Later that afternoon, Master Haruto invited Akio to sit with him under an ancient cherry tree. The monk handed him a small cup of tea. Tell me, Akio, what have you observed these past few days? Akio hesitated, then replied, that nothing stays fixed. The dust returns, the water flows, the wind moves. Everything is always changing. Master Haruto nodded. And how does that make you feel? Akio thought for a moment. It makes me realize that I can't control everything, but maybe I don't need to. The monk smiled. his eyes twinkling with approval. You are beginning to see the truth. Happiness is not a destination, it's a practice. Like sweeping the courtyard or tending the garden, it requires care and attention every single day. Akio sipped his tea, feeling a sense of clarity wash over him. For so long, he had been searching for a permanent solution to his anxiety, something that would fix him once and for all. But now he understood. That wasn't how life worked. Master Haruto continued, his voice soft but firm. The mind is like the sky. Sometimes it's clear, other times cloudy. But the sky itself remains unchanged. Your thoughts are the clouds. They come and go. You are the sky. Akio closed his eyes, letting the words sink in. He imagined himself as the vast, open sky, untouched by the storms passing through. It was a comforting thought. When he opened his eyes, Master Haruto was watching him intently. Now tell me, Akio, what will you do with this understanding? Akio took a deep breath. I will stop fighting my thoughts. I will observe them, let them pass, and focus on what truly matters. The monk nodded, satisfied. Then you are ready for the final lesson. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Akio stood in the monastery garden, his hands resting gently on the wooden railing. The air was cool, carrying with it the faint scent of cherry blossoms. For the first time in years, his mind felt still, like the surface of a calm lake. Master Haruto approached quietly, his presence as steady as the earth beneath their feet. Tell me, Akio, the monk said softly, what have you learned? Akio took a deep breath, his thoughts clear and deliberate. I've spent so much of my life fighting against myself, against my thoughts, my fears, my doubts. But now I see that peace isn't about winning that fight. It's about letting go. The monk nodded, his expression serene. And what will you do with this understanding? Akio looked out at the horizon, where the last traces of daylight lingered. I'll stop trying to control everything. I'll focus on what I can nurture. The moments, the actions, the choices that bring meaning to my life. Master Haruto smiled, placing a hand on Akio's shoulder. Then you are ready to leave this place. Akio turned to him, surprised. Leave? But I feel like I've only just begun. The monk chuckled softly. The journey doesn't end here, Akio. It continues wherever you go. The practice is not something you finish. It's something you live. Akio nodded, understanding. The lessons he had learned weren't confined to the monastery walls. They were tools he could carry with him, no matter where life took him. Before leaving, he knelt before Master Haruto and bowed deeply. Thank you, he said simply. The monk returned the bow, his eyes warm with pride. Go with peace, Akio. And remember, the storm will always return. But now, you know how to sit with it. As Akio walked down the mountain path, he felt lighter, freer. He no longer feared the storms within himself. Instead, he saw them as part of the journey, a reminder that even in chaos, there is beauty, growth, and peace. This story is a reminder to all of us. Anxiety isn't something we can eliminate completely. It's a natural part of life. But through mindfulness and observation, we can change our relationship with it. We can learn to sit with the storm instead of fighting it. So, I ask you, what practice will you use to nurture your peace? Will you observe your thoughts, let them pass, and focus on the present moment? If this story resonated with you, take a moment to leave a like. It helps share these lessons with others who might need them. And if you're ready for more stories that challenge the way you see yourself and the world, subscribe and turn on notifications. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for taking this step toward nurturing your growth. Until next time, stay present, stay open to change, and remember, sometimes the greatest journeys are the ones we take within ourselves. By the fourth day, Akio began to notice a subtle shift within himself. He no longer felt the need to cling to every thought or emotion that arose. Instead, he allowed them to pass like clouds in the sky. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments when anxiety gripped him tightly, but he was learning to respond differently. One morning, as he swept the courtyard, Master Haruto approached him. Akio, what do you see when you sweep? Akio paused, considering the question. I see dust, he replied, but I also see how it always comes back. The monk nodded approvingly. And yet, you continue to sweep. Why? Akio thought for a moment. Because it's not about making the dust disappear forever. It's about caring for the space, even if only for a little while. Master Haruto smiled. Exactly. Happiness is like this courtyard. You cannot control the dust, your thoughts, your worries, but you can tend to them with care. Akio lowered his broom, feeling a sense of clarity wash over him. For so long, he had been trying to eliminate his anxiety entirely, believing that peace meant having no struggles at all. But now he understood. It wasn't about erasing the storm. It was about learning to live with it. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Akio sat by the river where he had once tried to hold water in his hands. This time, he simply let his palms rest on the surface, feeling the gentle flow of the current. He realized something profound. Happiness wasn't something he could grasp or possess. It was something he experienced when he stopped fighting and started embracing life as it came. As the stars began to twinkle above, Akio felt a deep sense of gratitude, not for solving his anxiety, but for learning how to coexist with it.